Does investing take up a lot of time? Now, to answer this question, we must appreciate that there are many types of investors. Certain kind of investors spend more time investing, and certain kind of investors spend lesser time. So based on my role model, Professor Benjamin Graham, who was a professor in Columbia University, he, in his book called The Intelligent Investor, classified that investors, there are predominantly two types. One is called a passive investor, and one is called an active investor. So what is passive investor and what is active investor? Now, for passive investor, this kind of investors exhibit certain characteristics, such as they are very afraid of the movement of stock prices. They like diversification. In other words, they like to buy a whole bunch of huge stocks. The next one, if somebody asks them what's their opinion of the stock price today or yesterday, they will say, I don't know and I don't care. For passive investor, basically you can choose to invest in a basket of stocks such as ETF or exchange traded fund. An example of ETF, it can be S&P 500 ETF, it can be a Dow Jones Industrial Average. In Singapore, it could be the Straits Times Index ETF. So in other words, the moment you buy one index fund, a unit of an index fund, you're actually buying a basket of stocks. And for such investors, practically they use very, very little time to invest. Why? What you need to do is just to use a method called dollar cost averaging, which simply means to buy a fixed amount of this ETF over a regular time period. And you just need to repeat this over and over again for the rest of your life. So the time required is practically just based on the amount of time you spend on clicking. If it takes you 30 seconds to click, then 30 seconds is all you need to become a passive investor. For the second type investor is called an active investor. So the characteristic of an active investor is right the opposite of the passive investor. So in other words, remember, when we talk about passive investors, they like diversification. So for active investors, they like a concentrated portfolio. Let me give you an example. Warren Buffett, the second richest man in the world, and also known as the Oracle of Omaha, the legendary investor, he is an example of an active investor where he put most of the money in a small little basket and he watched it like a hawk. So he preferred concentrated portfolio than a diversified portfolio. Now, the second characteristic of an active investor is they will spend a lot of time monitoring the stocks. And if someone asks them, what's the stock price right now? They'll be very interested and they care. And when I say they care, doesn't mean that they look at the share price all day long. What they meant, or what I really meant, is they take advantage of the movement of share prices. Some of you may have heard before a quote given by Warren Buffett, which goes something like, when other people are very fearful, be very greedy. When other people are very greedy, be very fearful. So for active investor, what they do is they take advantage of the share prices. It falls down way below the intrinsic value. So let's go back to the question that you asked. Does investing take a lot of time? So it all comes down to what kind of investors are you? Do you prefer to be a passive investor, diversified portfolio, dollars cost averaging, using very little time, but you still make quite good sum of money? Or do you prefer to be an active investor, concentrated portfolio, spend a lot of time, but for such cases, usually you will demand a higher return? Either way, all roads lead to a common goal, which is financial freedom, or it could be making a first million. Hi, this is Ken Chan from VIA Value Investing Academy. Thanks for watching this video and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.